Hey guys, welcome back to another Viper Strategies video. Today I got one that was sent in to me by Cesar Santos. So I'm going to name it Santos Special, or for you Spanish speakers that follow the channel, Especial Santos. It's a very basic strategy in the sense there's only 3 bets, and I'm going to show you guys the build. I'm going to walk you guys through the build. It's pretty easy to set up, and then we're going to run a couple different tests on it to see if we could fine tune the progression and see which one works the best. So I do like the idea of running a basic strategy. Now that we have the software, we could go ahead and fine tune that and figure out what kind of progressions. There's a lot of power in progressions. So if we could find the right one to match this strategy, it should work out good. So I'm going to show you the build first. It's very quick. It's only a 1-step build. And then from there, we're going to do a couple test runs, and then we will review at the end of the video and compare which one works the best. All right, so let's get into the build. We're going to start a new strategy. Again, we're calling this Santos Special. Let me just go ahead and type it in. You could, just punch in the title up here. And then for the description, you don't have to fill this out. It's just optional. Helps you keep things organized. So I'm going to just do 2 dozen plus high-low. Let's do that. 2 dozen plus high-low. All right, save that. And then now let's go into the parameters that we want to use. We're not going to need a lot. It's essentially just a 2 dozen bet with a, we're going to do it with the low numbers. So we do want it to reset at session high. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that's enabled. So it's going to reset at session high. And let's see, what are we putting in next? So we got, I'm probably going to play around with the betting progression on this one with ladder too. But right now I'm going to do it how he has it designed first, and he has it set up for a negative progression. So on a loss, he increases the bet. But he is, what I thought was interesting about this one is he wants him to run independent. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that we add that as well too. But right here, we're under a bet selection. We're going to keep it on manual. But in here, there's a lot of different options. You could follow the hot dozens, the most recent dozens, follow the winner on columns. Like, we have a lot of options in here for like type of bet selections that you can use and play around with, So always keep that in mind. There's a lot in here, so you could pretty much have these strategies run however you want, and that's what I always say. We always test before we invest on this channel. So sometimes the way that you have it originally designed, you could come in here and play around with some different configurations. So we're going to keep manual bet right now. And then what else are we putting? Let's go. And okay, yes, independent bet progression. We're going to enable this. So all this means is there's 3 bets. All those bets are going to follow the progression, right? Any progression we put in here is going to follow that progression, but they're all going to be separate, right? So there's 3 bets. They're all going to be separate. So I'm just going to come down here real quick. And again, this is just a 1-step deal. It's a pretty basic strategy. So what we're going to do is first, let's go to even money bets. And we're just going to go, you can play either or, right? But let's just go with low today. And we got a $1 bet right there. The next bet we need to put down, and there's going to be some overlap, right, with the first and second dozen. So how he plays it is, if you're going to play the low side, we're going to put a bet on the first dozen and the second dozen. So you have 24 numbers covered on this, and you have some good overlap. And then keep in mind, we're going to be running this with an independent progression, betting progression. All right, so we want to save that. You can see right here, we're just 1 step. That's all we have. And I could get more complex with this, and like I'm showing you here, I'm going to play with the ladder, probably the next couple tests, and kind of see how that works. I really like that because it's following up what I was previously doing on the previous video, is playing with those betting steps as a ladder progression to follow D. Allen Birch. And of course, we're going to use a custom progression today. So we're going to go ahead and slide this over. Custom value is going to be 1. And you can see right here, it's very basic, right? We're just going up 1 unit, just like, how he has it designed. Any loss, you go up 1 unit. I'm going to stretch this out to 30. And I think that's good. I mean, you could keep going as high as you want, but I think 30 should be enough. Again, so let's go ahead and save this strategy. And we'll get everything set up. So we're just activating it, sliding it over to the software, and then let's run the test next. Okay. All right. So right now we have $1,000 bankroll. He says he uses $500. I'm going to show you something real quick. We're going to go into the application settings, and we are in back test mode. So if you're not using this for live play, we're just going to keep this enabled. Just makes things speed a lot quicker for back testing. So we're going to do the back test balance for $500. That's what he said he uses for the size of his bankroll. Save that. Now we're going to do a pre-test before we actually run the test on the spins. So I'm manually punching in numbers just to ensure that they're going up correctly here. So you can see right now there's an offset. There's 2, 3, 2, and then now we got 4, 3, 3. So they are running separate. So we're just going through here. Let's go ahead and see if we could get a new session profit. You can see there's an offset because they're all running independent. Got to win. New session profits at $3. So all bets go back to base level. Okay, so just wanted to test that out just to ensure. You always want to just double check that all your configuration and active parameters are set up correctly. So now we're just going to run the first test. And after this test, we are going to go ahead and I'll review the stats at the end. And then I'll probably run 3 tests today on this one. And the only difference, I'm going to keep everything the same. I'm going to keep the data set the same as well. I'm just going to play around with the progression. Let's see how this first test runs. We'll use this as a base and then we'll go from there. So I'll catch up with you at the end of this test. All right, that's going to wrap up test number one. Pretty good result. So we ran 300 spins, of course, 100% there. Profit per spin was a little low. It was 82 cents per spin. We did hit a profit high of $247, but we only used $44 of our bankroll. It only went minus 44. Profit percentage of bankroll was fairly good. Keep that in mind. We are starting with a $500 bankroll like he suggested, and it ended up coming out to 49% on that $500 initial start. So the 49% ROI recovery grade was pretty solid. I gave that an A. And interesting is that risk reward ratio, right? So keeping in mind we risked a total of $44 to make $247. So that ratio is for every dollar that you risked, every dollar that you went and used your bankroll, you made a profit gain of $5.61. So this is gonna Ben, I'm gonna make a couple adjustments to the betting progression as far as D. Allenbert ladder. So we're gonna focus on laddering on the bet progression. So let's go ahead and make some modifications and we'll do another test run and see how that version pans out. All right, so let's make some adjustments. We're on the Santos special. We are going to play with the ladder. So with the bet progression, right? So there's bet progression ladder and there's step ladder. We don't have more than one step. So we're going to play with the steps within the bet progression. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, see how this one runs. I'm going to keep it very simple. So we're just going to go up one on loss, down one on a win. And let's see how this plays out. When I refine, the process that I really like to use is one at a time. Okay, so I'll keep using the same data set. So I'm going to be running the same exact spins right now. And that's so I can compare apples to apples. So during my refinement process, when I'm trying to figure out a better betting progression, better bet placements, whatever I'm adjusting, I always do it one at a time instead of going in there and making a bunch of adjustments every time. Then you don't know what's working and what's hurting, because sometimes you'll do something and it's a big difference, right? So like I always mention, like the power of progression, and I really like laddering. I think laddering itself really reduces that risk to, I mean, any strategy that you play, honestly. So we're gonna let this one run through, and then after this one's done, we'll go over the results. All right, so let's go over the results. This was version 2 of Santos Special. Same 300 spins we ran it against. The profit per spin was slightly lower. The previous test did 82 cents. This one's at 74 cents profit per spin. Total profit high was also slightly lower at 223 versus the first version was 247. The biggest difference was the actual profit low. So we used less than half of the previous run. So we only went minus $20 into our bankroll. So that's going to have a big influence on that risk reward ratio. That risk reward ratios, for every $1 that you risked of your bankroll, you made a profit gain of $11.15. So that's going to be the biggest difference. Again, we just changed that one thing. So on a loss, you just ladder up one level following that bet progression. That bet progression is very basics. It's just going 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So I think that did help kind of reduce some risk. But let's see if we can make an adjustment to see if we can make more money a little bit quicker. We're gonna stay on the ladder for the bet progression, and we'll make some adjustments there, and then we'll run one more test, and we'll wrap up the video. We're making one adjustment at a time, really keeping this tight. So I'm gonna just bump up the ladders. I'm just going to put the ladder steps to 2. So on a loss, it's going to ladder 2 levels up, right? So on a loss from that starting base unit of $1, it's going to jump up to 3. On a win, it's just going to level back 1. Okay, so if we win after that next bet of 3, then it's going to go back to 2. And again, this is the same deal. All of them are going to be running independently, but at the same time, because this is all condensed into one single strategy. So once they achieve a profit high, they're all going to reset back to base. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and let this one run through, and then we'll catch up with you in a minute. All right, so that's going to wrap up the last test and a lot better results. I do want to highlight something. So if you look back at the test, I went back into the configuration and realized that I had not adjusted that custom betting progression to 30 because I accidentally pulled it off and then I added it back in. So by default, that custom progression is 1 through 28. So I did notice during that test run that it peaked at that 28 level mark, which is the max bet, but it didn't go any higher. So I don't know if that hurt or helped, but essentially this did run a lot better than the previous two. So let's just go over the results and then we will recap. So this is going to be that version 3. All we did for this change was on a loss, we leveled up 2. So a little bit more aggressive. That's why you saw the bets going a little bit higher, a little bit quicker. So same spins, 300. Profit per spin was the highest at $1.25. Profit high for this session was 376. Profit low was minus 49. So we made a lot more money playing this way, laddering up 2 every loss and going back 1 on a win. And we use very little of our bankroll. So this does look promising. I know a lot of people look at this strategy. I like to play dozens. I think, it would be ideal to play around with more configurations, like have it swap sides, maybe have it sit out if there's consecutive misses. There's a lot of different things that I could do with this to fine tune it even better. But I mean, how it's set up right now looks pretty solid. Looking at that risk reward ratio on this run, it's not as good as the previous run because we use a little bit more bankroll, but we still only use $49 of our bankroll. That's relatively low considering the bankroll size for this is $500, and we gave it a total of 900 spins. I know it was the same spins. I do that so I could refine it, but I mean 300 spins. That's a solid number, and this risk reward ratio came out to $1. For every dollar that you risked, it came out to $7.67 of profit. I think that's pretty solid. It has a good recovery and it has good coverage. So I do like this strategy. And if you guys have any input or feedback, let me know down in the comments if you want to see me adjust something, maybe swapping sides, maybe following the winner. I think, honestly, you don't really have to do that with this one because essentially what's going to hurt this strategy is that uncovered dozen and then obviously the zeros. But just thinking off the top of my head, I think one big key adjustment to try next, adding a setting where, I don't know, let's say if you get like 2 or 3 consecutive misses, it might be streaking on the high side. Like if we're playing low side, like we were today, if you were just to hold your bet on one side of the board, and let's say you hit like 2 or 3 in a row on that third dozen, I could put a parameter in there so we could simply just sit out losses until we get a virtual win, meaning once it shifts back to our side, then it's going to continue and resume betting from there on forward. So yeah, again, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. And of course, guys, till next time, be cool, stay cool. Peace.